Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Madkavira Bigopala Swikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pitwa Shishayustat Priyajanaha. Today we are speaking on Bhagavad-gita, chapter 2, text number 18. Do we need a translation or no?
No need, Prabhuji.
Okay, that's good. We have more time. Andavanta ime deha nityasyoktaha shariranaha anashino prameyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharata. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Purport: the material body is perishable by nature. It may perish immediately, or it may do so after 100 years. It is a question of time only. There is no chance of maintaining it indefinitely. But the spirit soul is so minute that it cannot be even be seen by an enemy, to say nothing of being killed. As mentioned in the previous verse, it is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. Just for reference, we can read the previous verse. Krishna tells Arjuna, Avinashi tu tad vidhi yena sarvamidam tatam Vinasham avyayasyasya nakaschit karatumarhati. No, that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. So Srila Prabhupada says, as mentioned in the previous verse, it is so small that no one can have any idea how to measure its dimension. So, from both viewpoints, there's no cause for lamentation, because the living entity, as he is, cannot be killed, nor can the material body be saved for any length of time or permanently protected. So those two things, the body cannot be saved and the soul cannot be killed. Therefore, there's no reason not to perform your duty. This is the essence of it. Srila Prabhupada continues now. The minute particle or of the whole spirit acquires this material body according to his work, and therefore observance of religious principles should be utilized. In the Vedanta Sutras, the living entity is qualified as light because he is part and parcel of the supreme light. As sunlight maintains the entire universe, so the light of the soul maintains this material body. As soon as the spirit soul is out of this material body, the body begins to decompose. Therefore, it is the spirit soul which maintains this body. The body itself is unimportant. Arjuna was advised to fight and not sacrifice the cause of religion for material bodily considerations. So this is few points that Krishna makes. First of all, the soul is described in three ways: Nitya and Sharirina, aprameya and anashi. We are imperishable, we are immeasurable, and we are forever. So it is said. Now, as far as the bodies are concerned, all these bodies, every single one of us, antavanta ime dehaha. These uktaha, these things are all said to be with a beginning and an end. We've heard many verses. We will hear many more verses in the course of this class in which this word is used. Antavanta. Antavanta. What does it mean? It means something that has an end. And so what is the conclusion of this information? Tasmat, that usually indicates the conclusion. Yudhyasva Bharata. O son of Bharata, you should fight. In other words, you should perform your duty. Let's take a look quickly at how the our predecessor acharyas have understood this verse. First of all, Dehanam tu vinashittvameva swabhava ityaha antavanta iti. Ramanujacharya says that in this verse, the very nature of these bodies as being subject to destruction is what is being described. And he goes on to make a point that Prabhupada also mentions. Nityasya shariranaha karma phala bhogarthataya bhuta sanghata rupa dehaha punya punyena ityadi shastraya ruktaha karmavasana vinashinaha. This is, he's quoting from the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad. And it's a very key verse from Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 4.4.5, in which the nature of our conditional existence as jivas within this material world is described. So we are, as we so often hear, aham brahmasmi, yohamasmi, I am that very Brahman. This is also from the Upanishads, but there's a difference between this Brahman and that Brahman. This Brahman being the minute individual. We have to take bodies again and again and again. And the Supreme Parabrahman, Lord Krishna, he doesn't have to do that. So on what basis are we getting one body after another? This is crucial information for all of us to know, because every one of us is going to die sooner or later, as Prabhupada said first thing in his purport. So it's very relevant. We should listen closely to this. The Upanishad continues. As one acts or does, so one becomes. By doing good, we become good. By doing evil, we become evil. The soul becomes virtuous through good acts and vicious through evil acts. So whatever we desire, that we resolve to do. Whatever we have resolved to do, we will certainly do that. And whatever we do, that's what we attain. We get a result for that. This is a very foundational passage from the Upanishads that lays out the lays out the principle of karma. So Ramanujacharya is quoting this, first of all. Atma tu avinashi, but the Atma is avinashi. Here he's described here. It's not destructible. Kutaha, how is that so? Aprameyatvat, because he cannot be measured. He cannot be measured. As Prabhupada said, he cannot even be seen. What to speak of measured? Why not measured? Because he's tiny. We don't have the capacity. Our senses are limited. We have 4 defects. We commit error through imperfect senses. We commit errors through our tendency to commit mistakes. We commit error through our cheating propensity in this way. So, sharinana karma phala bhogarthatvad aneka rupatvad vyapyatvad chavinashi. We become vinashi. We become temporary beings through our tendency to seek the fruits and enjoy the fruits of our karmic reactions. Aneka rupatvad. How many rupas? How many different kinds of bodies do we take? At least 8 million of them. 8,400,000. So we have that many options. What does it take to take birth as well, suppose you take birth as a SARS-CoV-2 virus. What kind of karma gets you that kind of birth? Or you can take birth as a demigod in heaven. Or you can come back again as a human being, or a dog, or a penguin, aardvark, elephant, you name it. All because of a different kind of desire. So watch what you desire very carefully. Think about where you're going in life. And these verses are very, very important because they help us. If we're thinking carefully, if we're reading carefully, hearing submissively, and considering the ramifications of what we hear, then these verses can change our lives. I was looking through Madhvacharya's commentary, which we'll summarize next. For the whole first chapter, Madhvacharya says virtually nothing. First chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Once we get to the second chapter, then he starts talking, but not until about text number 12. Text number 12 is when Krishna actually starts giving substantial instructions. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Many of us know this verse. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamaha sarve vayam ataha param. So according to Madhvacharya, by establishing the Lord's eternality implicitly in that verse, he also implies that we're as eternal as the Lord is. And that's important. Someone may say that somebody will live forever. And Krishna says, no. Antavanta ime. All these bodies, they all have an end. In that case, the person may then propose that, okay, well, when the body is destroyed, then the soul is destroyed along with the body. Therefore, Krishna says, no, again, nityasya, he is eternal, and he's avinashi. And he gives the analogy, if you destroying the body is like destroying the reflection by destroying the mirror. You can kill the body, but you're not going to kill the self. And in the same way, you can smash a mirror and its reflection will also disappear, but that doesn't mean the person who's being reflected is gone. This is the point. Very nice analogy he gives. So in other words, if somebody assumes that the soul is destroyed along with the body, the word nitya counters that idea. So then he says, sharirinaha, the embodied souls. Why does he say this word? Why does he use the word sharirinaha, the one who occupies the body? He says this is to distinguish them from God, because God is not a shariri. He is his body. In this material world, we are not our bodies, but in the spiritual world, everyone, God and all the rest of us, we are our bodies, but only in that world, not in this world. This is the point. So in other words, God doesn't repeatedly accept and abandon material bodies the way that we do. Only his separated reflections do that. This is Madhvacharya philosophy. He doesn't exactly see the souls as being parts and parcels, but he says they're reflections of God, which is, it amounts to the same thing, but he has a slightly different way of seeing it. Then he continues, Krishna, someone may propose that Krishna says the soul is anashi, indestructible, meaning that there are some maybe accidental or occasional or unforeseen destruction. So how is that? No. Because aprameya means he has the same type of form as Krishna has. We've mentioned this already. Just as Krishna has a spiritual body, the self also has a spiritual body. He's not killed when the body is killed. Krishna himself, due to being pure consciousness, chitvat, he says, so the living entity is also like that. And then he quotes a verse that I don't think anyone else knows. I looked it up, cannot find the verse anywhere, but Madhvacharya sometimes does that. Pratipattau vimokshasya nityopadhyā sarupaya chidrupaya yuto jivaha keshava pratibimbakaha iti Bhagavad-vachanat. He says this is the Supreme Lord speaking. I don't know where. But the meaning is this, that the living entity is an eternal reflection of Keshava, and he has his own spiritual form, and he has his own innate eternal attributes, even in the liberated state. This is the point. So in other words, Madhvacharya is establishing pure personalism and pure dualism as well. We're separate from the Lord. This is his idea. We will never, ever become one with God. Madhvacharya is so opposed to Mayavad philosophy that he's not even ready to admit that we have a qualitative oneness. He says we have a reflection. That is our state, according to him. Okay, now Sridhar Swami has written also his Bhagavad-gita commentary. And according to Sridhar Swami, this verse shows that any nature or swabha
Hare Krishna, seems some technical problem.
Video is post.
Yes.
Sound also.
Okay, we will wait.
Video is there, Prabhu, but sound is not.
So the video is also not clear. It is not moving. Hare Krishna, Manibhushan Prabhu, we are able to contact Prabhu or Chandramasi Prabhu? Hare Krishna, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Manibhushan Prabhu, are you able to hear? Chandramasi Prabhu, are you able to hear?
They are unmuted, Prabhuji.
No, it's okay. They can mute themselves. Chandramasi
can
Prabhu
do.
is also not affected. There is some technical problem in that area, Vrindavan area. So Chandramasi Prabhu is also not there. Prabhu is also logging from there now. Okay, I will try to call Manibhushan Prabhu and check.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Chandramasi Prabhu.
Prabhuji, yeah, Prabhuji will join now.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna devotees, please wait. Prabhuji will join him very soon.
Yeah, yes, join. Yes, come.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, welcome back, Prabhuji.
Sorry, this is Vrindavan, so power cuts hota hai. All right, so we were describing, Sridhar Swami has also commented on this verse, and he says that any swabhava, any nature that has a beginning and an end, that is fundamentally unreal. So antavanta means things that have an end, some things that are destroyed. The embodied soul, the possessor of the body, he always remains in his own form. Therefore, these bodies of the avinashi, indestructible, aprameya, immeasurable, an individual soul, having dualities like happiness and distress as their nature, are described by seers as having an end. Since the indestructible soul has no connection to the happinesses and distresses of the temporary body, therefore, you should give up grief that's born of this misidentification, and you should fight. In other words, he says, don't give up your swadharma. Tasman mohajam shokam tyaktva yudhvasva swadharmam ma tyakshir iti arthaha. This is Sridhar Swami. So one thing we can notice amongst all these acharyas, so far we've heard from Ramanujacharya, we've heard from Madhvacharya, we've heard from Sridhar Swami now. They're all amplifying what Krishna says in the final line of today's verse, Tasmad Yudhyasva. Why does Krishna want Arjuna to fight? Because Krishna wants Arjuna to perform his swadharma. Now let's see what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has to say about this. Nasato vidyate bhava ityasyartham spashtayati. He says that this for antavanta iti, today's verse clarifies what was spoken 2 verses previously in text number 16. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. This seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. That's another really foundational text here in chapter 2. It lays the foundation for everything that follows in Bhagavad-gita. If you don't get that verse, you will not understand Bhagavad-gita. Things that are real, they last forever. Things that are not real, they have a beginning and an end. We have to analyze everything in life in terms of this criteria to understand what's really important. What can you take with you at the time of death? Tanani bhumao pashavashtagoshte. Nari grihadwaris janas mashane dehaschitayam paraloka marge karmanugo gachati jiva ekaha. Very nice verse from the Niti Shastra says, your money is going to stay in the bank. Your car will stay in its garage. Your wife will stay at home. Your friends will come to the funeral. Your body goes as far as the funeral pyre, chitta. But if you have walked upon the path of karma, my friend, you're going on alone. You cannot take anything with you. Akhira akela jana, Kabir Das ji ne kaha. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells us, the possessor of the body, sharirana, the jiva, is beyond measurement, or in other words, difficult to understand, because he's very, very small. Aprameyasya, this is the idea. Therefore, you should fight. This means that you should not give up your dharma, which is prescribed in Shastra. So he says the same thing. Tasmad yudhyasveti shastra vihitasya swadharmasya tyago anuchita iti bhava. The idea is that giving up whatever Shastra enjoins for you to do, for each of us, it's different what the Shastra enjoins in terms of mundane dharma, at least. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says this should not be given up. It's inappropriate. What about Baladev Vidyabhushan? He says, the bodies of the jiva are said to have a destructible nature, antavanta. Bodies are destructible by nature, whereas the possessor of the body, the jiva or the shariri, is eternal. Because of the very fine nature of the jiva, jivasya sukshmatvat, and because it is the knower and consciousness, the jiva cannot itself be known by material methods. This is a very good point. When someone plays mridanga, everybody knows. Sometimes the neighbors will even complain. You can hear the mridanga, but you cannot catch those sounds in your hand. You cannot see them also. They're not tangible. This is the point. And it is the same with the jiva. The jiva is not tangible. Not because he doesn't have dimensions. This is something that Prabhupada will emphasize in a few moments. We're going to read what he has commented on this verse. But because it's very small, very tiny, and sukshma, very subtle also. Sometimes subtle things are very difficult to perceive for people who are gross. When we were engrossed things, things that are subtle, they escape us. We don't notice or we can't figure it out. Many times we have this experience, especially in countries filled with meat eaters. You try to explain Krishna consciousness philosophy, they just can't seem to connect. They don't get it somehow. So for those people, we give them prasadam and hope they buy the book and they can take it home and it will do its work. Srila Prabhupada said, you just get the books out there and the books will act. Why will the books act? Because the books are all expansions of Krishna, like deities. Prabhupada said, in Kali Yuga, Krishna manifests himself in the form of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, Baladev Dabhushan here, he continues, because the jiva and his body have these
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, please wait.
Chandravanshi
Again.
Prabhuji also gone now.
Yeah, that area, Vrindavan area, there's some problem, Prabhu.
Problem maybe. Hare Krishna.
We'll wait. They will join very soon.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hey Krishna, welcome back, Prabhuji.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. Let me see if I can go back to what I was thinking about. Okay, so Bhaktivedanta Bhushan was talking that because the body is destructible by nature, you can't save it, so there's no need to stop your duty just because it may threaten your body. This is the point. Especially for a Kshatriya, death is expected because Kshatriyas are dealing with death every day, or the potential of death. When you fight other people with the intent to kill them, that's just one of the occupational hazards. So that's one thing. And on the other hand, the jiva by nature is eternal and can never be killed. Even if the body is destroyed, you're not going to actually kill that jiva. So the real thing is that something which is Krishna has already said in the previous verse. Yam hina vyatyantyete purusham purusharshata samadukha sukham jiram somridatvaya kautate. You are eligible for liberation, eternal existence, actually, amritasya. Then if you have this attitude that if something very pleasing to the body is coming your way, you don't get swayed by that. If something very distressing to the body is coming your way, you also don't get distracted by that. In either case, you do your duty with steadiness. This is the point. So Bhaktivedanta Bhushan also, he concludes in the same way that virtually every single other acharya has done regarding tasmad yudhyasva. He says, sacha satcha dharmena bhavet tasmad yudhyasva bharata. You should act in terms of your dharma only. This should be the only consideration. He further elaborates, tatat chedrisha sambhavatvat jivatat deho nashaukasthanamiti jivatmano deho dharmanusthana dwara tasya bhagaya mokshaya chapareshena samjyate. Yeah, that he's just restating the same thing we've already discussed. This body is a dharmanusthana. It is the focus, or it is the location of your ability to perform dharma. And so it's very important for that reason. And for those who are simply conditioned by the modes of material nature, it is also the vehicle for mundane enjoyment, mundane happiness. Either way, this body is not going to be staying around forever. And so, tasmad yudhyasva bharata. This is really the punchline, if you will, of this verse. Krishna wants to convince Arjuna to fight. Why does Krishna want to convince Arjuna to fight? Because he's actually interested in Arjuna performing his duty. Why is Krishna interested in Arjuna performing his duty? Because Krishna comes to this world again and again and again, he tells us in chapter 4, in order to establish dharma in this world, because that will help all the other conditioned souls follow suit and become spiritually elevated. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata vithanam dharmasya taratmanam shrijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chatushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. This is the point. And even that is not the end of it, actually. Although Krishna comes again and again to establish dharma in this world, why does Krishna want Arjuna to perform his dharma? Arjuna is one of his intimate associates. So aside from encouraging or urging, impelling Arjuna to perform his dharma for the guidance of all those who are inferior to Arjuna, Krishna also wants Arjuna to perform his dharma as devotional service. This is the point. That is called parodharma, the supreme dharma. I said earlier, every one of us has our own swadharma, our own individual dharma. The dharma of a housewife is different than the dharma of a warrior, which is different than the dharma of the Shudra, which is different than the dharma of the Pandit. They all have different occupations. But one occupation that we all share, and which is eternal and is the ultimate goal of performing what do I want to say? Vyavaharic dharmas. That is devotional service. Savai pungsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir hokshije. Ahaituki apratehata yayatma suprasidati. This characteristic of parodharma is reflected in the performance of mundane dharma in this world. What characteristics? Two things, ahaituki and apratihata. Ahaituki means there's no motive. If you have a motive for going to heaven, that's okay. This world is meant for that. This is the prison cell for the rebellious souls. And if you're stupid and want to waste your time in adi antavanta things that have a beginning and an end, Krishna will not interfere. We mentioned already. You can do that, but that's not the best use of this bad bargain. So it's best to be ahaituki, to have no motive other than the desire to serve the Lord. The really high caliber person, he has this motive only in performing his mundane responsibilities. And because that is his motive, because love of Godhead is on his mind and is his focus and his goal, therefore he cannot be swayed. This is an important point we mentioned already in the previous verse. Yam hina vyatyantyete. He will not budge because he's fixed in his eternal conception of the self. Even though he's acting in a temporary role, we all have roles to play in this world. But with those roles, we can use this human form of life while it lasts in order to reawaken or at least move ourselves a little bit closer towards this parodharma ideal. So that is devotional service. Now, having said all this, let us now hear from Srila Prabhupada, because we've already read his purport, but Srila Prabhupada spoke from this verse also in Hyderabad in 1972, November 23rd. And we don't have time to really say everything, but I will just go through some of the points that Srila Prabhupada is making in that lecture. Anashinaha, he said the soul cannot be destroyed, although it's very minute. Aprameyasya, you cannot measure. This is something we mentioned earlier. You cannot measure the soul's breadth and length. In geometry, they finish at point. Point has no length and breadth. But Prabhupada said that is not the fact. A point also has length and breadth, but you cannot measure it. It's aprameya. So similarly, there's length and breadth in the soul. Soul is a person. Personal characteristics are there. We quoted from Madhvacharya already. Eternally, we have personal idiosyncrasies. We have personal desires. We have personal characteristics. We have a personality that is eternal. And that is what Krishna is very much attached to. Each of us as an individual can give Krishna a certain flavor of happiness that he can get from no other jiva. This we should keep in mind. But at this point, all this is aprameya. It's immeasurable. And Prabhupada then, he seems to take it in terms of the size, not only the subtlety of the soul, but the size of the soul as well. Keshagra shatabhagasya shatatha kalpitasya cha jivo bhagasya vijnaya sa anantaya kalpate. That's Shvetashvatara Upanishad. The spirit soul is measured to be, well, you divide one tip of your hair into 100 parts and then take one part again and divide that into another 100 parts. That is the portion, that portion is the measurement of the soul. 1/10,000th part of the tip of your hair. So we have no measuring instrument for that. And because we have no measuring instrument, although the soul is there within the body, we cannot find it out. As I said, we're totally absorbed in gross things. How can we perceive such subtle things? It's kind of like if your desktop is cluttered up with all kinds of programs running, then how are you going to find the one that you've double clicked on? You can't see it. It's there. So similarly, our spiritual life is there, but we're not interested. We don't have the eyes to see the soul. We're not even looking for the soul most of the time, to be quite frank. So we have these blunt, imperfect eyes that can't see so many things. So even though something is right in front of you, like your nose, because the eyes are imperfect, you can't see them. So this is one point Prabhupada makes. Then he says, this foolishness is especially increased in the Kali Yuga. Manda bhagya. People have no good fortune in the age of Kali. Everybody practically is unfortunate. Nobody has certainty what he's going to eat tomorrow or in the evening. Everywhere. Don't think that it's only India. It's in America. Prabhupada writes, he speaks here, he says, when I went there, I thought everyone is very rich, but there are so many poor men. They're lying on the street. One of them set fire to the Santa Monica Mountains the other day and nearly burnt down the house of one of my godbrothers. They say this fire that just was in California was set by a homeless person. So Prabhupada is noting when he went to America, he found that there are still these loafer class is also there, lying in the street. Street lying population is everywhere, whether in India or in America or England. I've seen, Prabhupada said. He often appeals to pratyaksha pramana in that way. So first class, second class, third class men, they will remain everywhere. However you try to make somebody first class, this division, first, second, third, it will go on. It's nature's arrangement. But in the Kali Yuga, it is disturbed because everything becomes degraded. So the increase is there, noticeable increase of third class persons. They tend to be heads of state nowadays. So therefore, there's practically no yajnik brahmanas who can perform yajnas, no competent brahmanas. Therefore, only performance of sacrifice is Hare Krishna. Yajnai sankirtana prayar yajanti hisumeta sahab. Srila Prabhupada really emphasized this point in Hyderabad. Anyone who is not interested in a perfect life, he'll be allured by what? Suppose someone is pious, but not devotional. It's possible. Just go to India. And in fact, you can't see it so much in India because Indians are no longer that pious, frankly. Go to Mauritius. If you go to Mauritius, you will find that people are serious about demigod worship, very serious about demigod worship in the country of Mauritius, in the middle of the Indian Ocean. I counted, because my wife is from Mauritius, there are 4 Vishnu temples, as far as we count, in the entire country. And there are hundreds, probably thousands of demigod temples there. So if someone is pious but materialistic, he's allured by demigod worship. But what does he get out of it? Antavant tu padam tesham tat bhavati alpametasaha. So Prabhupada is contrasting. Or as Krishna says elsewhere in Bhagavad-gita, what is that?
Adindavanda kaundeya, nateshu
ramate buddha. The smart persons, they do not waste time with these temporary things. You can worship the demigod, you can perform this or that yajna, and you will get what you want. Zurur, it will be there. But what is the point? You have a human form of life now. Are you taking full advantage of it? How much longer will it last? Do you know? And where are you going? These things we don't think about. But Prabhupada says, those who are intelligent, they give up the upametasa things because they're sumetasa. And being sumetasa, what do? Yajnai sankirtana prayaya yajanti. That's how they worship. Krishna varnam tvisha krishnam sangopangasya parshitam yajnai sankirtana prayaya yajanti hi sumetasa. This is from Bhagavatam. Krishna himself in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming and showing us how do you perform yajna in this age. Easy thing anyone can do. You only need a tongue and 2 ears. Even if you have only 1 ear, It still works. Harinama Sankirtana. So this is Krishna Varnam, means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he's chanting Hare Krishna. That is also Krishnam Varnayati. Means he's also chanting. Okay, so this is the emphasis of Prabhupada's lecture on this verse. But he mentions before closing, there is an immense field for introducing this Hare Krishna movement all over the world. That is practical. If you want to know what do I do, you try to spread Krishna consciousness somehow or other, wherever you are and whatever your circumstances may be. It can be done because it's ahaituki, apratihata. It cannot be checked if you really have a strong desire. Krishna will help, but you have to beg. This is the thing. You do have to beg. You have to submit. You have to humbly pray and beg. And then Krishna will help. Now, Krishna, he is in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has entrusted this matter to every Indian. Prabhupada is continuing here. Not only to the Bengalis, just because he appeared in Bengali. He never said for the Bengalis. He said, Bharata Bhumite, Hoila Manushya Janma. Jar Janma Shartha Kori, Koro Parupakar. Whoever has taken birth in Bharatvarsha as a human being, he should, first of all, make his life perfect. Then you can actually do something for others. This is how it works. In Indo-Aryan languages, Janma Sartha Kari Koro Para Upakar. You're not going to be able to do the Para Upakar first. You have to do the Janma Sartha Kari first. So, is Janma Sartha Karna Padega, Tabhi. You can do something for the world. So this is what Prabhupada is saying about this verse. Don't neglect. Take this chanting of Hare Krishna heart and soul. And anywhere you can spread Krishna consciousness, you can become Krishna conscious. Niyamataha smarane nakalaha. There's no hard and fast rule. As you become constantly in touch with Krishna, that is Krishna consciousness. You become purified. Just like if you put iron rod into the fire, it becomes warm, warmer, warmest, and at last it becomes red hot. When it's red hot, it is fire, practically. It is no more an iron rod. It can do everything fire can do. Similarly, if you keep always in Krishna consciousness, you become Krishnized. That is the process. Then everything becomes purified. Your spiritual life is manifested. And then the length and breadth of the soul will no longer be aprameya. It will become manifest before you. Not only you will understand yourself, but you will also understand Krishna. First, you understand Krishna as his nama, his name. Then you begin to realize he has form. The name and the form are one and the same. Then you say, this form, this name has so many gunas, qualities, and qualities are not possible without activity. So the pastimes are also there. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. All these things will become Swayameva Spurati Adaha. The name will manifest all these things to us when we're sincerely chanting. We just have to give ourselves sincerely, seriously. And when Krishna sees, he's making an effort. She's making an effort now. He becomes so active. He becomes so responsive. He becomes so reciprocating. So the first beginning is here, as it is said by Krishna, Andavanta ime deha. Don't be attached to the body. The body is material. Everything material ends. The body will go away someday. You won't have it anymore. Then what do you do? But while you have it, you can spiritualize this body. If you utilize it for sense gratification, as people are doing, eating, sleeping, mating, drinking, that's an option. You can do that, but that is not human life. But if you engage this body for the service of the Lord, as we've already explained, in touch with fire, red hot, then it will burn. So, sevan mokhehi jivado swayameva spuratyadaha. It begins to the tongue. So Krishna conscious, this is the process. Whatever we have done, Prabhupada says, that is all right, but now this Krishna conscious movement is here. Everyone should take it very seriously and make his life perfect. And he ends with that. All right, so I will also end here, but if anybody has any questions or any comments, we can discuss for a few moments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. We consider ourselves very fortunate to listen from you, the nectar, this morning. Also, you
Thank
release your Sanskrit scholarship also. Of course, above that is Shastric knowledge. Devotees requested to utilize this golden opportunity to clear our doubts from Prabhuji. Anatam Gopal Prabhu, please unmute yourself and ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for your wonderful lecture, Prabhu. My question is, we understand that the soul is spiritual in nature and is therefore immeasurable. But at the same time, in Shastras, it says that the size of the soul is 1/10,000, the tip of a hair. So how to understand these seemingly contradictory statements?
Yes, good question. We mentioned, I believe, one of the acharyas mentioned, maybe it was Ramanuja, two aspects of the soul are being focused on here. One is that it's sukshmatvat, on account of being very subtle. It's hard for us to really assess what is the position of the soul. That's one. And then the minute size, although it does have length and breadth, Prabhupada said, but it's very, very small, so it's beyond our ordinary comprehension. And so that's why if you take a super state-of-the-art, scientifically up-to-date microscope, you actually can see things that are that small. They can see things that are atomic. But you cannot see the soul because it is sukshma. It's very subtle. It is not visible to the mundane eyes. So the size is one thing that makes it aprameya, and the subtlety is another thing that makes it aprameya. This is my understanding from what I've read. Is that satisfactory?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Another aspect that we can add to that is that I kind of mentioned already in passing that because our attention is actually elsewhere, we're not really too concerned about the soul. Therefore, also we miss it. We simply don't give it enough thought. So that's the third aspect we can consider. Experiential. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Anything else? I don't know how much time we have. You'll have to let me know.
We have time, Prabhu. It's up to you, Prabhu. Devotees can wait here, no problem.
Agar prashna ho jai.
Yes, devotees are requested to ask your questions, if any. Prabhu is asking prashna ho jaye. Sirsa Mataji, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, it's Vishkalyan Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, and pranams to all the humble devotees. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. Prabhu, I think I have a follow-up question of a similar nature. That if we state that the soul is Satchidananda, like different from material characteristics, then how can we attribute dimensions like size to something that is completely spiritual? So will that apply to something that is Satchidananda, like a soul? Thank you.
Yes, it does. Actually, we find that this is happening in the Shastras. For example, we find even that what to speak of the individual soul, we find that the Paramatma, Srila Prabhupada says in one second canto purport, if I'm not mistaken, that the Paramatma is the size of the thumb, at least in the human heart. So the Lord seems to have dimensions in that way. And it's nowhere has it been proscribed to attribute size to the soul. Several of these acharyas that we've read already, they're doing just that. Whether it's 1/10,000th tip of a hair or the size of a thumb, or as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Brahma Samhita, Lord Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan is medium size. What does that mean in a spiritual world? Oh, we don't know, because it's essentially, here's the thing. We get in Mahabharata, and I think it's also quoted elsewhere, in maybe Skanda Purana, if I'm not mistaken. Achintya khalu ye bhavanatam starkena yojayet. We should not try to force mundane logic into things that are far beyond it. This is the point. It generally just doesn't work. It's like we say in English, trying to put a square peg into a round hole. You can put a round peg into a square hole if the round peg is small enough, but you cannot put a square peg into a round hole if they're the same size. So it's kind of like spirituality and the spiritual dimension in general, including the spiritual body, that are not conceivable to the mundane mind or even to the mundane logic. And that doesn't mean that doesn't place any limitation on those spiritual phenomena. Rather, it places limitation on the process of mundane logic. The problem is not spirituality, the problem, or the spiritual body. The problem is mundane logic. Mundane logic falls short. This is the point. It is insufficient. You have to have the system requirements to run certain software. And it's not going to work if you don't have those system requirements. This is the point. So we mentioned this already. Karanapatava means that our senses are just by their very nature. I mean to say just as the body is destructible by nature, so our senses, they're limited by nature. These are different natures, different energies of the Lord. And so you can't really utilize those things in the beginning for trying to assess or measure prama. The word pramana means to actually measure something. There is no instrument, pramatri, there is no measuring instrument that is sufficient to assess or to measure or to get a grasp of spiritual dimension, spiritual phenomenon, and spiritual personality also. What is the verse that Prabhupada quoted? Swayameva spuratyadaha? Just now I can't remember. I'll say one more.
Atah Shri Krishna Bhati.
Nabhavat grahyam indriyahi. This is the point. You cannot grab it with your senses, just like I gave the analogy. Even within the material realm of material sense perception, there are certain things that you can only do with some senses and not with others. You can only hear the sound of the mridanga. You cannot see those sounds wafting through the air. Right? And Jiva Goswami also gives in his Sandarbhas another nice example, mantras and gems, gemstones. Mantras have certain properties. If you chant this mantra, something will happen. It somehow has some power over the material nature that it affects a certain result, and we can't understand how that's happening. Similarly, jewels, if you wear a particular jewel, it's said to have an effect on your planetary configuration. How that is happening, we don't really get it. Prabhupada gave yet another example. Cows. You simply keep a cow happy, and this cow will produce milk. She's eating grass, And she's somehow turning that grass into something as wonderful as milk. And milk is so valuable. It's hard for us with our gross intellect, stunted, repressed, I mean to say, intellect, that we can hardly even appreciate what is the value of milk in the modern day and age, especially in places where you can hardly get pure milk. So, but it's a miracle. This is the point. Prabhupada said, actually, there are no miracles. Miracles simply means you don't understand it. And the reason you don't understand it is because achintya shakti, that this is inconceivable, means you don't have the proper faculties to understand how this is happening. So how it is that spirituality, spiritual bodies, spiritual dimensions can change. Within Brajamandala, we hear Braj is like a lotus, and the pastimes within Brajamandala, there that lotus is expanding and contracting according to whether the lila is prakata or aprakata, manifest or unmanifest. How does that work in terms of physical laws? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't fit within geophysics. It doesn't even fit within logic. But it is directly perceptible. This is the point that Krishna makes. Pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam. But not by these eyes. Pratyaksha means in front of your eyes. But it's not in front of these material eyes that you see Krishna standing before you. As Prabhupada said, you can use these eyes in Krishna's service to see the deity. And if you do that, then hote, you will see that the deity is no longer a marble statue in the temple. Instead, he is Bhagavan Vrajendranandan Sakshat. This is the point. It is by placing these senses in the fire of devotional service that the senses become red hot, in other words, spiritualized, as much as they can be. And of course, that doesn't mean they're ever going to become eternal. We've already described that. Antavanta ime deha. You cannot keep them forever. But what happens by becoming Krishna conscious and purifying your senses through utilization of those senses in devotional service, those senses become purified such that you can perceive things that are spiritual, even with so-called material senses. But they have to be red hot. And it's not comfortable to make something red hot. It burns. It burns our false ego, mainly. So it's a little bit of an austerity in the beginning to perform devotional service, but if we do that, then we get the results. It is absolutely pakka. It is for sure we will get the result. And then when this body finally dies, because it definitely always has to die, then we will find it's much less of a transition from this life to that life. We've already been cultivating that life even within this one. Iha yasya harirdasi karmana manasa gira nikhila shwapyavastasu jivan muktastu uchyate. Rupa Goswami says, if we take everything at our disposal, our mind, our body, our words, and we utilize them for devotional service, then we're liberated even while we're alive. And when the body drops off, then the body just simply drops and we continue. Just like Pankajangri Prabhu. We recently lost our esteemed godbrother, Pujari in Mayapur for half a century. Very pure character, sterling devotee. Everyone misses Pankajangri Prabhu. So we were talking, did he go back to Godhead? There's no question. He was already back to Godhead. He's serving in Mayapur Dham, in the spiritual world. He is fully engaged in spiritual activities. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmaivatina gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. He was already in his spiritual existence. And then it's just a question of formality that the material body drops off and then he continues in his siddhadeha. He's still there, I'm sure, still worshiping the Lord in Mayapur Dham. So this is what we have to do. We have simply to engage our senses in the service of the Lord, and then swayameva spurati. He himself will reveal himself to us once he's satisfied with our service. Therefore, I said we have to beg. We have to actually be humble. And that's the part that hurts. Or as I said before, that's the part that burns. That is the red hot part. We don't like that. We're here to evade God, to exploit his things, and escape his authority. And as long as we have that demoniac attitude, then we'll always remain mythology, and we'll always have doubts and questions. But if we just dive in wholeheartedly, Vaigunya kita kaletaha paishunya vranapiritaha dhainyarnavenamagno ham chaitanyam vaidyamashaye. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, I am suffering. Vaigunya kita kaletaha. I'm completely worthless, and I'm infected with so many maggots. And paishunya varnapiritaha, because of envy, I'm suffering boils and other sinful reactions. Therefore, diving into the ocean of humility, I take shelter of the supreme Vaidya, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this attitude we have to cultivate. If we do this, and if we engage our senses seriously, we have to make a serious effort. Then the senses become purified. And then we realize, oh, my God, everything that's in the Srimad, it's all true. We see it. Pratyakshavagamam dharmyam. This is Krishna's promise in chapter 9 of Bhagavad-gita. Directly, we experience it. Once a reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, how do you know what to write in your books? I mean, where do you get all this from? And Prabhupada very nonchalantly answered this reporter, complete non-devotee, mundane reporter. Prabhupada said, Krishna tells me. So I think it was Rameshwar was with Srila Prabhupada. So he was trying to think how to present this in such a way that this reporter will be able to process it. What Prabhupada just dropped a bomb on him. So he's immediately, Rameshwar interjects with some explanation about how Paramatma, and if one is pure in his intention, and the intelligence becomes refined, and then adi, adi, adi. And Prabhupada cut him off. Prabhupada said, no, Krishna's standing right next to me, and Krishna tells me. Even in front of a complete non-devotee reporter, Prabhupada was bold enough to make this claim. Because it's an important claim to make. People should know that this process really works, but you have to follow it. And Prabhupada did follow it. And that's why we all surrendered unto his lotus feet. What do we know about these things? We're not even born in Bharatavarsha. This is nothing about our culture, nothing about in our background that would predispose us to taking shelter of a pure devotee. But we saw this person is real, and he's completely not of this world. The first time I saw Srila Prabhupada, that was instantly clear to me, instantly. Just on sight, I could understand this person is not coming from this dimension. There's nobody like this. That was my experience, subjective, but too many devotees I've heard say the same thing. Srila Prabhupada was in this category of, what is the word? Alaukika, you could say. From transcendent. All right, so anyway, I hope that answers your question to some degree.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the wonderful class today. Prabhuji, I wish to request one explanation how to do our sadhana on today's Sita Thakurani's appearance day.
Sita Devi. Very auspicious day. Well, the Lord comes every time, as we mentioned already. Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, and he brings with him his internal pleasure potency. Actually, we see, what is Rama doing when Ram comes to this world? Whenever Ram is without Sita, what is he doing? He's killing. Whenever Ram is with Sita, he's smiling. Whenever Sita is not there, Ram is killing demons. So we want to approach the Lord with his pleasure potency. Sita Devi or Lakshmi Rani, or especially Srimati Radharani, In Vrindavan, everybody worships Srimati Radharani, that nobody trusts Krishna in Vrindavan. Because Krishna can do anything. He has no rules. Maryada Purushottam, if you want God to follow the rules, then that worship Sitaram. But, or if you want peace, one Braj saint said, then worship Lakshmi Narayana, you'll get peace. But if you want bliss, then you worship Radha Krishna. The implication is that in Vrindavan you will get bliss, but you will not be peaceful. Nobody in Vrindavan is peaceful. And nobody knows what's coming next because Krishna is totally unpredictable. And he can be harsh. Rupa Goswami says in his Padyavali that even somebody very ardently worships Krishna in all sincerity with pure devotion, but Krishna sometimes doesn't fulfill his ishta, his chaha. But if you take shelter of Vrajadevi, then without any question of whether you've done any bhajan or not, you will get love of Krishna. You will get bhakti by Vrajadevi's grace. And this Vrajadevi is just a small, you can say, adjunct expansion of Srimati Radharani. Madhvacharya, he has said, Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sargava Mahavibhute Vritti Prakasha Niyamavrita Bandha Mokshaha Yasya Apangalava Matrata Urjita Sa Shrir Yat Kataksha Balavati Ajitum Natosmi. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the unconquerable Supreme Lord, the unconquered Lord, Vishnu, Ajita, by the mere glance of whose personal pleasure potency, Sri Lakshmi Devi, this Srishti comes about, Sthiti is maintained, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya happens, destruction goes on, Sarga, secondary creation, Mahavibhuti, the great wonders of this cosmic manifestation, every cosmic manifestation. Vritti, all of your occupational engagements and prescribed duties. Prakasha, your enlightenment. Vritti Prakasha, Niyama, your discipline, self-control. Bandha, moksha, your bondage, your liberation, all of it is affected simply by the sidelong glance of this Srimati Radha, Srimati Lakshmi Devi. That is her power. Durga Devi is also her insignificant expansion. But this Lakshmi, she cannot conquer the Supreme Lord because he's Ajita. But who is conquered by? Who is Krishna conquered by? Srimati Radharani alone. Only. In Bilvavan, across the river from Vrindavan, Lakshmi Devi was executing tapasya for a long, long time in order to get into the Ras Leela. She was not able to do it because it just wasn't for her. She has a different position. So she herself is Jita. She is conquered by whom? Jayashri. Name for Srimati Radharani, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami says in his commentary on Krishna Karnamrita, first verse, Jayashri. He says this means the form of Lakshmi who can conquer Krishna, and that is Srimati Radharani. So the devotees in Vrindavan especially, they're not so impressed by, we have all respect for all the Lord's expansions and all of his pleasure potency expansions as well. Sita Devi is there, Rukmini Rani is there, Lakshmi Devi is there, Bhudevi is there. When he comes as Varaha, she comes as Bhumi. So that's all there. But Srimati Radharani is the sole controller of Lord Krishna. She has this potency that whatever she wants, Krishna has to do it. And she's one of us. What does that mean? She's one of us. She's a devotee. She knows what it is like to deal with Krishna. It's not so easy sometimes. She knows that. And she has a soft heart. Soft heart, like molten gold, soft. And so when we approach Srimati Radharani, and pray to her, then she can recommend us to Krishna. And she's softer than Krishna also. When she intercedes, then Krishna is no more aloof. Krishna has to take an interest because on her behalf, he becomes very interested. So in our line, we're worshiping Srimati Radharani, but not directly even. We worship her through her intimate associates, and that includes Lalita Vishakha, and that also includes the Goswamis, who are their manjaris or sakhis. And all the acharyas in our line are considered to be representing these devotees. So we take shelter of our spiritual masters, especially Srila Prabhupada. And then it's automatically, if we can please Srila Prabhupada, somehow or other, please Srila Prabhupada, by doing what he's asked for, then we can get the mercy of Srimati Radharani, who is the Supreme Lord, supreme form of Lakshmi, supreme form of Sita, supreme form of Bhudevi, supreme form of all the Lord's consorts. You're asking me the question. This is the answer that I have for you today.
Thank you, Bhaji. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bhaji.
I hope it's sufficient.
Yeah. Sudarshan Prabhu, you can proceed.
Okay, so anything else?
Devotees, any more questions to be clear? Okay. I think, Prabhu, no more questions. So it is our time to express our gratitude to you. So for that, I request devotees who can switch on the videos. And I request Asimanta Prabhu to do the vote of thanks. Hare Krishna, Asimanta Prabhu. Can you hear?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Those who can switch on video, please switch on for
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, so thank you for your wonderful class and explanation about this shloka from different perspective of different acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharyas, Sridhar Swami, and Vishwanath Thakur and Baladeva Vidyabhushan. And thank you, Prabhuji, for nicely you are enlightened with this shloka of this. Also, you have given us your precious time, given your association to us. And thank you for your wonderful class also today. And we thank you for this wonderful association today. We'll chant 3 times Hare Krishna Mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank Srila Prabhupada.
Pranam.
Thank you.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad-Bhagavad-gita ki jai. His Grace Mukunda Datta Prabhu ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, all devotees, and thank you very much, Chandramamshi Prabhuji, for getting connected with Prabhuji.
Krishna, all glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And I hope everybody knows that our Tapan Mishra Prabhuji's daughter and Mataji is affected with corona, and Prabhuji is very busy with taking care about them. So we have to pray to Lord Krishna to get over from the corona affections and keep them safe. Also, other devotees who are suffering with corona, all together, we will chant 3 times Hare Krishna Mahamantra for their speedy recovery. Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
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 Hare
Rama Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
And Sunday will be Ekadashi. Everybody can fast on that day. And the day after, that is 25th, it will be Narsimha Chaturdashi. We'll have a special program in the evening. We'll planning for Abhishekam also, and followed by class by His Grace Mukunda Datta Prabhuji. So please join for both the functions. Hare Krishna. And today evening we'll have a Chaitanya Charitamrita class by His Grace Sanatana Dharma Prabhuji from Pune. So don't miss that. It is he's very fluent speaker. So please join it at 6 p.m. And tomorrow morning there will be Bhagavatam class again. Hare Krishna. Thank you. We will continue with our morning program. Now we will proceed with Guru Arati. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Today
Sadan
Friday,
Shyam
no?
Prabhu. And
Udara Krishna Prabhu. Yeah.
Today Friday, no, Prabhuji. Saturday, no? Chaitanya Charitamrita.
no, today is
Friday.
Chaitanya Charitamrita. Tomorrow Bhagavatam 10th canto.
Bhagavatam. Saturday 6:30 Bhagavatam.
Ah,
Friday
yeah.
6 o'clock Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yes, sorry. Hare Krishna.
Sadan Shyam Prabhu, you
Hare
can
Krishna.
proceed with the.
No, I'm not here, Prabhu.
Udara Krishna Prabhu. Udara
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu. Please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Continue, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay, okay. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Please, Sudhay, please
Hare
switch on
Krishna.
video.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
And Udara Krishna Prabhu continue to keep audio on.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, by 11:30 we have to conclude. Thank you.
Okay, half an hour. We have the class in the same link.
Start Kirtan, Prabhu, please.
इधर आई थी
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please unmute audio from your device. Hare Krishna Shiva Prabhu, please unmute Hare Krishna Prabhu's device. Hare Krishna Shiva Prabhu. Suresh Kumar Prabhu, can you hear? We need a device for audio. We are using Hare Krishna Prabhu's phone.
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhudale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Krishna Prasthaya Bhudale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashcharya Desatari Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Acharya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya ISKCON Sabhagajara Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Devam Vishnu Madhavarama Prabhupada. Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava. Ramacharya Srila Hridasa. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Srila Gadadhara Srivasadi Gura Bhakta. Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Radha Krishna Shama Sri Madhura Vrindavan Dwargata. Kshetra Jagannath Tirtha. Maya Purnam Tirtha. Sri Ganga Yamuna Mai. Sri Tulsi Maharani. Sri Samaveda Bhaktavan. Sri Gavrantai. Jagannath Baladeva Ramai. Sri Guruvayur Dham. Sri Vinashakari Sri Hrinama Sankirtan. Sri Hrinama Sankirtan Mahai. Sri Brihat Mrudanki. Gaurav Pramana. All glories to us. All glories to us. All glories to us. All glories to Guru and Gaurav. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Gaurav Pramana.
Shastram start here, Prabhu.
Jedo darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavakirvapanam Shreyas-kairava chandriga vidaranam vidyavadhu jeevanam Anandambudivardhanam pradipadam purnamrudaswadanam Sarvatmasnabanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Kari Begudami Jasa Sarvashakti